So I want as many people to think from the perspective that, it's totally okay to start from where you are, what you have, and be comfortable putting your flaws out. And that's something that, if I've learned, one of the biggest lessons, then that would be, be comfortable in putting your flaws out. I mean, that's what makes us, right? We all of us are made of our own set of flaws,
Yeah.
even though all of us, or most of us try to show to
Cover
the world
them
that how perfect we are, how amazing we are on our
without
Instagram, but we
filters.
all
Yeah.
absolutely.
Why glorify the finishing line when you can cherish your halfway mark? Hey everyone, welcome back to the MidVibe. If you're new to this channel, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and do give us a review if you gained anything out of this episode. If you're an already existing subscriber, let me tell you, I'm so grateful to you and your existence. I'm in conversation with Bijay Gautam today. Let me start by saying that I'm truly nervous and excited because Bijay is the podcast host of The Inspiring Talk, one of the India's top podcasts on self-help. I think I've been listening to his podcasts ever since he started podcasting. But let me tell you, the evolution of himself and his podcast has been truly beautiful. He lives up to his podcast's name, which is The Inspiring Talk. And when you finish listening to this conversation, I can guarantee you that you will be inspired and you will be empowered and you will want to approach him and talk to him because he is that guy who really, really motivates you to strive for more, and more. Without further ado, let me invite Bijay Gautam to this episode.
All good. How are you doing?
I am super honored and I'm super, super grateful that, you've been so humble to come on my show. It's truly, 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 I
No,
don't know.
it's a
I'm inundated with feelings right now.
pleasure. It's absolutely a pleasure to be here, Asna. You are doing this great job already. Yeah.
Thank you. So, Vijay, I went through the 100th episode on your podcast. And trust me, Rajiv did a wonderful job by asking all the questions that I wish I could have asked you. But I wouldn't want to go through the repetition.
Absolutely. I mean, let the conversation flow, and
Yeah.
let's do this.
Yes. Okay. So, Vijay, before we start, although I am totally aware of the inspiring talk, I know the essence behind this, but for anyone who's listening to this for the first time, can you not share about what the inspiring talk is, but what's the essence, number one, and what what was that trigger in you that wanted you to impact people?
So I always tell people, the person who is most inspired by the inspiring talk, then it has to be me, because
Mhm.
the idea behind starting the inspiring talk was that I wanted to learn from the people. Because when I was working as a research scientist at a pharmaceutical company, I realized that that's not what I want to do for the rest of my life. When I looked at people around me, when I looked at people who were 5, 10, 15 years ahead of me on that career path, I realized I don't see myself being happy even if I get all those accolades and titles in another 10, 15, 20 years. And when I realized that this is not what I want to do with my life, then I said, okay, what is it that I should do next in my life? And then I hit that phase where I had no answers, because the only thing that I knew was to become a research scientist, because that's what I studied and that's what I have been doing. And the question that came to my mind is, but there are these incredible people who are doing amazing things. How did they figure out what they want to do in their life? Like, what was their
Right.
journey like? What's been their journey of discovering what they wanted to do in their life, and then pursue that to make that into their career, right? So that was the question that was on my head. And I thought it would be interesting, to reach out to those people and ask them, hey, tell me what, how did you went through this whole process of discovering what you wanted to do in your life? And
Mm.
then maybe in those conversations, I'll find that blueprint for myself, which I can follow and use in my life. Maybe that blueprint is something that I can use to figure out what I want to do next in my life, right? So that was the initial idea of starting the inspiring talk, just to learn from these people. And even today, what I do, what gets me going even after 100 episodes, is this sheer passion, and more than that, curiosity to learn from these people. And every single time I get butterflies when I'm sitting in front of computer to record these interviews, because there is so much to learn
Yeah.
from these people whom I've had on the show. And the way I bring the guests on my show even today is pretty shellfish, but I do it for myself, right? So if I want to learn about meditation, I'll try and go and find the best person who can talk about and help me with all the questions that I have about meditation. And I ask them
Mhm.
all my questions about meditation, right? Recently, I had this amazing person named David G. Now, I use this app called Insight Timer to meditate. And David G is the person, who is the voice on that app. Obviously, there are so many other teachers as well, but I love David G's meditation practices that are on that app. And I have been meditating for him for so many days. And I thought, you know what? I need to have conversation with David G and ask all these questions that I have about meditation with him. And
Yeah.
then that's how I got him on my show. And then when I got him on the show, I asked him, David G, tell me, when I'm meditating, I feel like, I feel that I'm not doing it right. Like, is that okay? When I'm meditating, these are the things that's going on my mind. Is it okay when I'm feeling like down? Can I do mantra meditation? And all those questions that I had, and I'll just go and ask. And it so happens that there are so many people who listen to my podcast also have the same exact questions that they want to ask about the things that I ask, right? So I always I and on the show, I'm not the smart guy, right? So I am just a curious person, as my listeners are, and I'm just asking questions for my listeners, which they happen to enjoy, saying that, oh yeah, I also had that question, and you know what? I just loved getting that insight. So yeah, I mean, that's how the show started, and now every single week, the thing that keeps me going is the fact that I'm learning so much, and I'm getting to get into the mindset of these incredibly amazing human beings.
Wow. And I mean, I can totally resonate with what you said because, when somebody asked me that why are you starting the midwife, obviously there were several other reasons, and I will come to that eventually. But one major answer that I gave to my mom when she asked me was that, Mama, dekho, I love listening to podcasts. I love
Yeah,
knowing people's stories. I love learning new things. And if I can learn selfishly and I can provide that to other people, what's the harm? So,
yeah,
exactly
absolutely.
what you said. And I also feel that when you realize that your potential is truly limitless, your thirst and your love, your passion for learning just becomes like a perpetual need.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. And I mean, for me, I can talk about the same concept that I, discussed in the episode 5 or 10 or 15 or 20, because we are in 100. And I realized that your audience evolves with you over the period of time, because these are the people who are listening to you.
Yes.
And because you are evolving as a person, and so does your audience. And when audience are evolving with you, then you are climbing up and up on that ladder of finding more information, new insights that you can learn and implement on your own life and share that with the audience. And it's such a amazing journey, and it's never ending journey, right? In the
Yeah.
beginning, you will get the speakers who are not that well accomplished, and but still, they are some steps ahead of you, and they have
Yeah.
got a lot of insights to share with you. And that was what you needed to hear, because these are people who are maybe a couple of steps ahead of you, right?
Right.
And when you go and keep having this conversation with one person and another and keep climbing up the ladder, you will realize not only how much you learn, but also how your listeners are evolving in this journey together. So it's
Exactly.
such a powerful thing that
Yeah.
you and your listeners, everyone is evolving together with the learnings from these amazing people.
Right. And it's funny, you weren't here when I was introducing, like I was recording the introduction before.
Okay.
And it's funny because one thing that I mentioned in my introduction was that I've experienced Vijay's podcast from the time he began, almost, I think. And I've seen the evolution in you as a podcaster and in myself and the podcast as a whole. So it's really
Absolutely.
funny how you
And
just mentioned evolution. I've already spoken about it in my podcast introduction.
yeah, and like a lot of people who listen to my podcast and who have been listening to me for a while, they always come back to me and say that, what, BJ, like the way that you as a host, the way you have evolved in the past 3 years, like it's just
Mhm.
so amazing, right? And I was speaking to another blogger a couple of days back. He's a very popular blogger who blogs about a lot of blogging, well
Mhm.
known in the circuit. And I was just having conversation with him, and I was telling him, it's just so funny how we start, and without knowing too many things
Yeah.
about the thing that we're doing, and just taking those baby steps and just trying to get hang of it and making all those mistakes.
Oh.
And then I want those episodes to be out there. I don't want, I want those episode 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, right? Where I was, I would literally have the list of questions. I would have everything jotted down. I would just read that out, and my guest would answer that, and I'll just move to another one. Because even though I do podcasts, like I am extremely, I won't say like, introvert in that sense. I take quite a time to open up, right? So I mean, I can talk business. I mean, you can talk to me about business and things that on that, but like generally carrying the conversation is something that I find extremely difficult even today, right? So for someone like me, just having that conversation, and you know just carrying the conversation was something that doesn't come naturally to me, right? And it was quite an effort. Like I do that, and on that conversation, he came back and said, what, I have deleted all those early blog posts. I don't want that to be there, because people will think about me. But I think differently, because I want people to actually see that. And like, if
Yeah,
that guy is starting from that, right, if he can
exactly.
evolve, and if that's the evolution process, then maybe I can do that as well. So I want as many people to think from the perspective that it's totally okay to start from where you are, what you have, and be comfortable putting your flaws out. And that's something that if I've learned, one of the biggest lessons, then that would be be comfortable in putting your flaws out. I mean, that's what makes us, right? We all of us are made of our own set of flaws,
Yeah,
even though all of us, or most of us, try to show to
cover
the world
them,
that how perfect we are, how amazing we are on our
without
Instagram. But we
filters.
all, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
That's true because even I when I started the midwife, I had this thing that I want to strive for excellence, not perfection. So I know I'm not perfect yet, and if I go back to my first episode, I laugh at the way I'm introducing, and even I know if I look
Mm,
in future when I look back to this episode, maybe I laugh at how I am talking. Who
absolutely,
knows? But I'm still
absolutely.
learning, I'm growing, and so are people who are starting something of their own. So Vijay, tell me one thing, there's always this one trigger or one situation or one instance in our life which makes us dive into that self help, self development sort of pool. So, can you recall when was it that you realized that self development is going to be my next big thing now?
Yeah, so it was not a conscious choice saying that I want to go into the self development, but it happened that I kind of dragged to it, and it was more out of a angst, maybe, if I can say so. So after my school, I wanted to study biotechnology, and I sat down for the entrance, and I couldn't make it, right? And all my life I have been an average student. Like I was never a topper, or but I never failed, right? So
Mm,
the
yeah.
first time when I knew that I couldn't get into the university because I failed the entrance, that kind of got into me, that kind of stuck with me, that failure kind of stuck to me. And the reason for that is I originally come from Nepal, and
Okay.
this was the university called Kathmandu University, and the university is in the outskirt of Kathmandu Valley, and it's such a beautiful, lovely, lovely campus. And I dreamt of being there and studying there. And biotechnology at that point was like hot, and I thought I'd
Yeah.
just go ahead and study biotechnology. It's a great campus. It would be great. And bunch of other friends, we were preparing for the entrance, and I couldn't make it. And that kind of hit me, and I remember telling myself, you know what, even if I can't make it to the best university, I'm going to be best wherever I go. So that was the
Mm.
promise that I made to myself, saying that I'm going to be best wherever I go. Like, I'm going to prove that, like, I am the best, I am the number one, right?
Yeah.
So that is kind of something that kind of got into me. And then I came to Delhi. I joined the college here. I studied pharmacy, and I remember the first day at my pharmacy college. I joined a little later, a week late. And obviously, a lot of folks who joined the college, they were pretty much in the classroom, and they kind of got familiar with the college. I was just on the first day, I would just look at the kids who would answer the teachers questions, so that I know that, oh, you are my competitor, oh, you too, okay,
Yeah.
all right. Now I'm just making mental note of, okay, these are like five smart kids, and these are my competitors, right? And I knew that I'm gonna be the topper. I have to be the topper, right? By the way, like, I was someone who had like just 68% in my 11th and 12th combined as on an average, and these kids are like, somebody has got 90%, 86%, and all I have is like 68%, right?
Yeah.
And because I needed to motivate myself, because I needed to you know really study hard, I tuned into, I started reading blogs. That's how my introduction to the self-help was. I started reading blogs from this guy called Steve Pablina, who writes a lot of blogs on personal development. And later on, I started reading blogs from Ravin Sharma. This was 2011, right? So in 2011, in the first year of my college, I was just reading all these blogs, and also now and then I was trying to implement all the incredible things that they would share. And you know what, I topped my college first year, and I was like,
Wow.
wow, I never thought in my school that I could ever be a topper, and here I am. And second year, I was awarded as best student of pharmacy, because all my life in the school, I was this kid who would love to be on stage, who would love to participate in debate competition, who would love to go on speech competition, who would love to be the head of the
Yeah.
houses, they would call, yeah. And third year, they awarded me full fee waiver scholarship. I don't have to pay fees. They awarded me the scholarship in the third year. And the final year, in the placement, I was selected for a top company, a pharmaceutical company, and then as a research scientist. And when I joined that organization took us for a 3 months training. And obviously, the 15 people that they selected from all over the country, smart kids. And again, on that group of 15 people within the organization, I was the topper. And and I was even awarded from the organization, saying that this guy is the most promising candidate that we have hired. That was the title, most promising candidate. I got that. And then now, when you knew that all your life you were an average student, and if you look at like past 3-4 years of your life, then for anybody, it's easy for you to think that I have arrived, like I am doing all this cool stuff now. I mean, nobody can stop me, like I'm in best of my game, right? And yeah. And then so this is the whole thing, right? So while I was getting all these accolades and stuff and all of that stuff, I was learning a lot. I was attending a lot of these seminars. I remember while I was still in the college, I saw that first time ever Sandeep Maheshwari had, printed this full page newspaper ad saying that free life changing seminar by Sandeep Maheshwari. Right. I went and attended that. So I was like, and also Success Gan, right? the
Yeah.
organization that organize a lot of events, right? Obviously I couldn't afford, so they organized something called as National Achiever Conference in 2014. So obviously I couldn't afford the ticket to their conference, and I applied for whatever scholarship or something, and they got me in, right? They said, okay, come and attend this, you have this silver ticket, sit at the back, but just come and attend this 2 days event, right? I went and attended that event. I would attend all this, free stuff that I could go and attend. I would, read these blogs, and that's my introduction to self-help. I would try to, just think about what are my goals, what is it that I want to achieve. So I got introduced to the whole idea of goal setting. I got
Mm.
introduced to the whole idea of, uh, taking care of your health. I would wake up early in the morning during my college days and go for a run, and I was like literally, trying these things that these bloggers were teaching me. Like they would tell the things like,
Yeah.
you know what, if you want to be happy, just go ahead and smile at the stranger. And like when I'm going on the walk in the morning, like in the 5, like it's not that bright, it's just dark, and I would just shout, hi uncle, to everybody, who is on the jog. And that's implementing those things as well, and just
Yeah.
come down, uh, you know would make a note of those, do journal a little bit. So that was my introduction to self-help. That's how I got into the whole thing, which was to improve, my own self, based firstly primarily to motivate myself to be, to study, and then eventually, the thing started evolving to the other areas of my life as well.
Yeah, you started off with the small, like with a very small aspect of you trying to be better than the fellow students, and then it became a lifestyle. That is just beautiful because
Absolutely.
you know I have a similar story. So I've again been the average kid. I've been the average kid in
Mhm.
my family, the average kid in my school. I never got more than 70%. And then the first time I got introduced to self-help in class 12 because
Mhm.
I, like you, saw the gap in me that I used to compare myself that, yeah, इतना दिमाग है इनके पास, my friends, like, right, they were all so bright, and always the
Mm.
teachers were always after them that this kid should go आगे, this kid should go आगे, and I never got the opportunities. And sort of like
Mm.
even in my family I'm the youngest, so एक होता है ना कि opinion नहीं लेते बच्चे का, so that
Yeah.
thing also kept coming back
Yeah.
to me. And then 12th
Mm.
May I got introduced to The Secret. I literally made a vision board
Mm.
wherein I put up pictures of LSR, my dream college, and then I put up pictures of this percentage that I wanted in my 12th grade. And like I solely dedicated my 12th grade to self development, getting good grades for my DU admission. And I got, for
Awesome.
the first time in my life, I got like 96%. And
Ooh,
everyone was
wow.
blown in my family. And then I got admission in
Awesome.
LSR, but I didn't take the course because I wanted some other course. But just this
Mm.
entire thing of like you start off by filling one gap and then it becomes like an
Mm.
entire lifestyle. And that's very,
Absolutely.
very magical. That's a beautiful start and a journey that you take on there.
And that quest never stops, right? Because every
Yeah,
single time you are learning new thing, and you are going to find
exactly.
to learn new thing and improve, because you are seeing results, right? And if
Yeah.
that work, then you go and find new things, and it's like a never ending journey to work on yourself, right?
Because it becomes cumulative, right? One thing leads to the other,
Absolutely.
and then other successes come in the way. So yeah. Tell me one thing, Vijay. You mentioned that you were in conversation. You used to, talk to many people from different walks of life, understand their journeys. What is it that they were doing well? But coming to our generation, coming to the millennials and Gen Ys and Gen Zs, wherein we don't have the time and the attention span to talk to people and really be empathetic and understand their journey. We're so impatient. You want quick transformations. What would you suggest? Like, what would be your advice to us, our generation? Ki, why should we, take care of these small conversations that happen with people who've made it or who are still, ahead of us? How can we be
So
more receptive?
yeah. So one thing that I want to, probably answer this in a slightly different manner. So instead of like saying that everybody should, learn through the conversations, I also realized that it also has got to do with our own learning styles, right? Some of us
Mm,
are auditory learners who learn by listening, right? And some of us
Mhm.
are visual learners who would learn better by, watching. And some of us are kinesthetic learners. These are the people who learn by doing things. And I'm one of those people who love, I can't, sit for a presentation, long hour presentation,
Yeah.
right? I have to do things. I have to get involved in the process. That's how I learn. I learn by doing, right? So I'm more of a kinesthetic and then auditory learner,
Yeah.
right? So that's how I learn, right? So I think the first thing is to identify what your learning style is, right? So once you know how you learn better, then it will be much easier for you to grasp the
Mhm.
information, right? So that would be the one part of it, because once you understand what your learning style is, then you don't have to feel
Mhm.
bad. Oh, you know what, Asna is learning by having this conversation, I just can't have conversation. Or, oh, you know what, my friend is learning by attending all these workshops, but I'm not learning. Maybe you
Yeah.
are, maybe you are a visual learner, or maybe you are an auditory learner. Maybe try listening to podcast, or maybe, audiobooks. If we can't, sit down and read the books, try
Mhm.
listening to audiobooks. If that's not helping them, then try and have the conversations, right? But now
Mhm.
coming back to the thing about conversation, now here's the thing, right? Now, imagine this. Now, someone is willing to share all their life's learning in that, 30 minutes or 45 minutes of
Mhm.
conversation, right? And
Mhm.
like they are distilling down all the learnings that they have ever had in their life in that 45 minutes or 30 minutes or 1 hour conversation. If you're asking the right set of questions,
Yeah.
why would you not want to do that? Because they
Mhm.
are already, giving you the information which they think is going to add value to you on that conversation,
Right.
and sharing the best of the insights with you, right? And now I don't think there's a better way for me to learn, learn. So I sometimes, have this complaint for myself, saying that I can't read as much book as I would like to, I don't have time and all this stuff. And then, the counter argument that comes from within is like, but you are learning every single week from one new person and getting
Right.
all these differently, different perspectives, right? So because I'm learning on those conversations that I have, I'm learning when I am researching about my guest. So I think, I think, like, if you, and also it goes down to like, what is it that really excites and interests you, right?
Mhm.
um, you go and find something that really excites you, and then,
Yeah.
when you find something that excites you, then you go deeper on that rabbit hole and try and find
Mhm.
more and more and more information. But obviously you need to be really, really excited to learn the
Mhm.
things that you really, that you think is really going to help you. So I think a couple of things: one, understand your learning
Right.
style;
Right.
second, find something that you are really excited to learn, find something
Mhm.
that you think is going to really help you in your journey. Third one is because we usually make this um uh you know um assumption on our head, like, oh, I don't enjoy that, right? Because you have never
Yeah.
tried that, just don't make that assumption, right? Just to give you an example, a friend of mine, she told me that, you know what, Vijay, I'm going through this like really difficult phase in my life, and nothing seems to be working, and I don't know what I should do. And obviously, among the other things, I also told her, hey, have you tried doing meditation? And she's like, you know what, I'm like very this chanchal, I just can't sit down, I don't think meditation is ever gonna work. And I'm said, have you ever tried? And she's like, not really. Then I said, okay, okay, then do this. Just get this app and just start with 2 minutes. Like, meditation is not meant for, like, for you to sit hours and hours. You don't have to do that. If you can do, I mean, that's great, but you just can't do like as short as 2 minutes. And then the next thing that happens is, after a month, she sends me this screenshot saying that, busy, I just completed 30 days of meditation. I'm
Oh,
like,
wow.
wow, how are you enjoying this? She said, this seems like, it's working, it's helping me calm down, and it's helping me be more grounded. And I'm like, see, I mean, because we make a lot of assumptions on our head, saying that, oh, I don't enjoy that, oh, I don't like that, oh, I can't
Mhm.
do that, right?
Not
So I
my
think
cup
find
of
your
tea.
learning, yeah, so find your learning style. And the second thing, as I said, is like, just don't get in this judgment, saying that, already don't pass that judgment unless you have tried
Mhm.
it, right? So I think these would be my few suggestions on
Mhm.
learning. And obviously the third one, as I said, was finding something that you are really passionate about learning, and maybe pick one thing that you want to learn first and see how it goes, identify your style, and then maybe expand it into the other things that you'd like to learn.
Right, right. And the last point that you mentioned, that don't just decide, don't assume things that you don't like because you haven't even tried them. And I was this person, right? So like for instance, I also don't feel like meditating. And I made this rule for myself, not just in meditation aspect, but in general, I made this rule for myself that until and unless I try this one thing for 7 times, I won't decide
Mm,
if that thing is my cup of tea or not. So that's like a
I think
rule I
that's a
live by.
great way.
So
Yeah.
every time I hear people telling me, "Have you tried this?" or anytime I hear people saying, "This is not my thing," I'm just like, "तुमने करा ही कितनी बार है तुमने कोशिश? तुमने एक बार कोशिश की है, 2 बार कोशिश की है, and you saying it's not your thing." Like we are, our potential is so expansive. It's so humongous. We don't realize it, and just by saying it's not my thing, we sort of stop it right there, which is so
Yeah,
wrong. So yeah, this is like my
absolutely.
rule. This is like my own built-in rule, which I say कि मैं 7 बारी try करूँगी एक चीज, 7th time तो नहीं हुआ. That's maybe when I sort of say that this is not my thing. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay. Okay. So one thing that I wanted to ask you, and this is like a selfish question. Okay.
Sure.
Uh, this is very, very selfish. So you are in this podcasting industry, you're in this intellectual industry, if I have to say, right? Because you're always in conversation with these highly intellectual people, and you're learning and grasping so many different things. You're like a sponge all the time. But being the humans we are, we sort of always once in a while tend to get this demotivated sort of an aura around us, and we don't feel like, I don't know, I'm assuming that you also might be procrastinating things. You're also sometimes getting into that mellow zone, and I'm asking this because I myself experienced that. And it's very burdensome because when you're in a field like this, people around you, your family, your friends expect you to be that, मतलब ये इंसान तो हर वक्त मोटिवेटेड होना चाहिए, and
Yeah,
it's very very
absolutely.
pressurizing. So
Yeah,
how do you deal with
absolutely.
that? What do you do?
Wow, I think that's a really very interesting question that you've asked, Ashna, because because you do this podcast about personal transformation, and because you do this stuff, and people would expect, oh, matlab tu to matlab pura 100%, you are always 100% productive, you
Yeah.
are 100% inspired all the
Right.
time. But it's not something, because at the end of the day, we all are human and we do have
Mm,
emotions, right? And also the fact that we all need to feed ourselves with positivity, right? It's not
mm,
that because I do the inspiring talk, I'm inspired all the time, right?
yeah.
It's not that, right? You do have your own moments of of your ups and downs. And the thing is, when I usually feel low, a few things that really helps me is going back and seeing the incredible things people have said about me. Now,
Mm,
also before that, like just going and thinking on my so okay, this is something that I have recently started doing, like super new insight that I got for myself a couple of weeks back was I did this in a core value exercise for myself. Now,
mm,
what that is to identify what are the things that I naturally value.
mm,
And then I just went and derived these 5 core values that I have for myself.
mm,
Now, when you feel low in your life, or when you feel angst, or when you feel angry, then either of those values has to be challenged, right?
mm.
When those
Right.
values are challenged, that's when you feel one of those emotions, right? Let's
Mm,
say one of the values for me is significance. Now,
mm,
what that means
mm,
is, the significance means I have to do the significant work, and I have to do the work that really make impact in the world, right? And when I'm not able to do that kind of work, or let's say when in work, or the things that I want to do is something that I let's say the opportunity that I thought I'm going to get is not something that I'm getting, because I thought that that is a significant opportunity, and I knew that this is something that I should get, but that is now, you know, is now taken by someone else,
Yeah.
right? And then now, what is the value that's challenged? The value that's challenged is significance. And then now, when I have the understanding that, oh, the reason that I'm feeling, low right now in my life is because this value is challenged. And now, when you develop that kind of awareness, then it becomes much easier for you to get back up,
Mhm.
because you know that I'm feeling this because this value is challenged, and then you accept that, and then you move forward, right? So, so these are, that is one thing that really helps me. That's one. And the second thing that the other thing that I was mentioning was also, and also the one of the reasons that a lot of us feel, overburdened and pressurized and, like, really low, is also because we doubt ourselves, because it's easier for us to doubt ourselves, because
Mhm.
even when everybody is saying that, oh my god, you are such an inspiration, oh my god, you are such an amazing person, on your mind you are saying, like, am I really worth it? Like, have I even
Yeah.
done anything that, have I even done anything, to be someone who is worthy of all this stuff that people are saying?
Mhm.
Am I even faking the whole thing, right? And that's something, because we get on that, mode where we are criticize ourselves, right? So I'll
Yeah.
just give you one instance. I think last year, right? Last year I was, traveling by metro, coming back from Delhi, and I was having one of those moments where I was feeling like, am I even worth it? And this is like after doing 70, 80 episodes of my show. The whole thing about, like, you are asking yourself, like, the whole thing that I've been doing for the past 2.5 years, is it even worth it? Right? That was the question that came to my mind. And I got a, vibration on my phone, and I pulled out the phone, and then there you go, somebody just left a comment on my podcast saying that, Bijay, I have been listening to your podcast, and I was really going through this, tough relationship with my wife for so long. We tried to work it out, da, 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 but, your podcast is, helping me bear through this tough time. We are now getting separated, and your podcast is the one thing that I listen, and it's keeping me sane.
Wow.
And boom, and it sounded like, it's the universe telling me that, or
Mhm.
maybe in other way, like just slapping me and saying that, what the heck are you thinking? Here you go, right? There is the answer. And I even made the post about that. So I think, just going through the messages where, people say really good things about you. Now what I have started is just collecting all those things and put on my Evernote, and so that whenever I feel that, so that I can quickly read all those, things, good things that people have shared about the show, about me, so that, I know that I'm making that impact in someone's life, so that I can feel that, uh, absolutely, I'm totally worth it, and what I'm doing is making difference in people's lives, so that you get out of that criticism. So this would be
Yeah.
two quick things.
That's That's so true. I have this Google Drive folder wherein I have like screenshots of all the compliments and all the appreciations that I've received after I started the MidVibe. And I am, that's true that I don't have as many appreciations coming my way right now. But even those two, three people who I don't know, I have no clue about, when they DM me that, your
Yeah,
this video helped me start my page, it really
yeah,
makes me feel like, yeah, like even if
absolutely.
one person is getting impacted, that's enough. And you know what? This again reminds me, I don't know where you said it, but you said that
Hmm.
in the first 6 months, you just had two, three people listening to your podcast, right?
Yeah,
Like a very small
absolutely.
number.
Yeah,
And you
20
were
to 30
like,
people would listen to an episode. Yeah.
yeah. And then you were like, कि अगर एक इंसान को भी impact पड़ रहा है, I don't care. I will
Yeah, I
continue.
mean, when I started the show, right, Asna, first, like, my pronunciation is all over the places, and my accent, like, it's weird accent, and I do have, people who would pick me up for the
Mhm.
accent that I have, saying that, oh, it looks like you are faking this accent, why do you even have to do that?
Mhm.
And all sort of things. And I have this poor accent, my pronunciation and English skill is like all over the places.
Mhm.
And I am the guy who don't know how to carry the conversation, right? And then here I am saying that I'm going to do the podcast, right? And then when I started getting those messages from the people, like my guests would share the episode on their profile saying that I
Mhm.
was interviewed on the Inspiring Talk podcast. And somebody would leave a comment on that post saying that, oh, you were so amazing as a guest, but that host was like really bad, right? And then like they would comment like those, and then I was like, wow. I mean, when I really did that for 6 7 episode, and I realized, like, you know what, I think it's not, I don't think like I can do this, because everyone go through that phase, right? And it's the toughest thing
Mhm.
to break off that and move to the next part. And I stopped producing episodes. Like, I stopped producing episodes for a couple of weeks. And I think on the third week, somebody just messaged me saying that, hey, I have been waiting for your episode for the past 2 weeks. There has been no episode. When's your next episode gonna come up?
Yeah.
Boom, that one message, right? That one guy who just sent me that message saying that I'm waiting you for your episode. I mean, that changed the whole thing. I knew that there is someone who waits for my episode, even if it's that one person
Mhm.
out there. And as you said, right, even if it's that one person, just do it for that one person who might think like you, and who might enjoy your content. And recently I was on this panel for the podcasters, and a friend of mine, um, and a fellow podcaster who does this show called Here's of the Pandavas with us. He, shared this very, very interesting, point which kind of stuck with me. Um, During his panel, he shared that, what, even though we show how social we are, how amazing friends we have, how big my circle is, whatever we show out there in the world on Instagram and Facebook, deep inside, most of us are lonely.
Yeah.
Deep inside, we all feel alone. And what podcast can do for people, and what you as a podcaster can do for people, is be their friends and
Yeah.
help them be their friend, because
One
you are someone
conversation
who's going
at
to
a
be,
time.
absolutely, you are someone who can have that conversation, and you can make them feel like, what, there is someone who feels and thinks like you. There is someone who has the similar journey like you. And because you have a journey, there are so many people who have got the similar journey like you and who thinks like you,
Mhm.
right? And then these are the people who would relate to what you have to share, right? So I think that also happens a lot with me. Like, oh, this guy with all these flaws that he has can, like, do the show, and then you know do hundreds of episodes, and chat with these incredible people. I think, a few, the few folks who hear about me, it might inspire them to say that, oh, I mean, I am way better than that guy. Like, my language skill is way better than him. Like, I can speak better than him, or I have a better voice than him. Like, I can definitely do it. I think that's what it is all about.
Yeah. I mean, that's sad also because people sort of compare themselves with other people. Like, I feel you should walk your walk instead of comparing with the host. Like you said, right? Ki, I have a better voice than him, I have a better communication skill than him. Instead of doing that, maybe they can see how you've evolved over time and how wonderfully you're taking it forward and how you didn't let those once upon a time flaws, if I have to say, you don't let those things bog you down. That's something that people should learn rather than comparing कि ये कर सकते हो तो मैं तो कर ही सकती हूँ वो नहीं होना चाहिए. I think that's where people
Yeah,
sort
I
of
mean,
get,
it's also that, right? A lot of people say that, what, can I do this? It's all because we get in that self criticism mode where
yeah.
we are constantly telling ourselves that nahi, मैं शायद नहीं कर सकता, I can't do this, and all of that stuff, right? And also, like, if this guy, right, I mean, if he can do it, then I think
Yeah.
I'm definitely, I can definitely do it. And I think
Yeah.
that in a positive way, that that can inspire people, saying that, oh yeah, I can do this, right? So you don't, and also it's the fact that you don't need all sort of resources, and you don't need to be perfect to begin, right? So
Right.
that's also another message there, right? You don't have to have all the stars aligned before you begin, right? If you
Like
wait for all
you.
the stars,
Like
yeah.
you didn't have
So
a microphone. I heard it in the last
absolutely,
episode. You did
absolutely,
have the
absolutely.
resources and you started and see where you are. So yeah, that's true. Really. Vijay, one last question that I ask all my speakers. And while we're always on several journeys, we're always somewhere also halfway, not always at the finishing line. So, this is like my last signature question. What is your mid vibe? So, wherever you are at this point of your journey, what's your vibe right
So right now, I mean, the vibe right now is like I'm extremely, extremely grateful for the journey that I have had so far, and I'm so glad that your show name rightly said it's a mid vibe. I'm
now?
on the mid of this journey, and I don't even think like I'm in a midway. Like I'm just getting started in this journey, right? I think I have just moved a one step. I have just taken this one step, and it's just like the beginning of what's more to come in the future. But I'm so glad that I'm not in competition to anyone, as you said, and I'm extremely grateful for all the experiences that I have, and more important than that, like I get to do what I love, and I get to have the conversation. At the same time, there are a few people who listen to the show and then they come back and say that we love the conversation that you put out, we love the questions that you ask, we love your show. I think it's also about making that impact along the way. So I think it's a immense feeling of gratitude for being able to do what I'm doing, and also contributing to the world in the smallest possible way.
It's beautiful, so beautiful, and so empowering. Vijay, before I conclude, I would just like to say that you give out this aura of being so approachable, like so humble, and it's just like as suggested by your podcast, it's truly inspiring and so encouraging that any person who hears this conversation or any conversation of yours, at the end of the at least speaking for myself, at the end of every conversation, I feel so light, and I feel so motivated to strive for more. And I hope people listening to this conversation also take this away with them. And yeah, I mean, kudos to you for being who you are.
That's
And
so kind of you to say that, Asna. Thank you so much. I mean, um, it's just that I'm just on this journey, and just trying to be of service as much as I can. So yeah, so I'm really grateful for you, saying those words for me. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that.
thank
I
you.
hope you gathered some key takeaways from this conversation. If you did, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, give us a review, keep going, embrace your vibe. Until next time, thank you, take care.